And finding your comfortable seat. So really settling in first. Letting the sit bones feel stable. Let your bum feel like it's really supported by the chair, the backs of your thighs supported. Then you might wiggle a little bit here and there. Move forward to back and side to side and find that place where you feel like your pelvis is balanced and that you feel like the spine can lift up and away. And then you might settle your shoulders in. You might find a few twitches or movements of the neck. A few deep breaths, sighing. Then finding a tall and comfortable seat in which you can stay for a few moments. Allowing your hands to rest wherever they feel most comfortable. And allowing the feet, if they can, to be flat on the floor. Maximizing stability here. A nice strong base for a tall seat. Taking a few breaths as we settle in, eyes can be open and closed. Just noticing how your body feels in this moment. How your breath is. Taking note how deep or shallow the breath is without any judgment, but just noticing sort of the status of your body and breath. Noticing what it tells you about your state of mind or how you're feeling in this moment. You might see if you can bring the inhales and exhales to equal length. And starting to soften the face, smoothing away any lines of tension in the forehead, softening the cheeks, the jaw. Allowing the arms to be heavy, the shoulders to melt down along the spine. Allowing there to be some softness in the palms of the hands and fingers. Maybe even in the toes. Just being here with your body for a few more moments, just breathing. Let's start moving into the head. When your next exhale arrives, let's turn the head to one side. And we'll inhale back to center as you're ready. And exhale over to the other side. Moving with your breath, inhaling to center. Exhaling to one side at a time. Eyes can either be open or closed. If they're open, you might consider sending the eyes back behind you as though you were reaching with your eyes further around to the side in which your head is turning. Looking back through the corners of the eyes. And then when you've had about enough and you feel even, allow the head to come back to center. And pause. And we'll move the head in a nodding position as you exhale, allowing the chin to come down towards the chest. Inhaling to lift the head, lifting the chin, maybe gazing up. So the eyes can follow the movement of your head if you like, as you exhale down. Maybe the eyes look down into your cheeks. And as you inhale up, they might look up towards the forehead or the third eye or behind you, and having that intention. The next time you feel even, let your head come back to center again. Eyes forward, face forward, noticing sensations. And as you're ready, let's tip right ear towards right shoulder. Pausing here for a moment. You might allow the left arm to get a little bit heavy. Then playing with this movement as long as it feels okay for the neck. You could experiment with exhaling the nose towards the shoulder, so turning the head down. Then inhaling to turn the nose up towards the ceiling. Sort of tilting and turning the head on a diagonal, exhaling down. Inhaling the nose up. Moving a couple more times if this feels okay. And when you feel even again, bring the nose back so that it's forward. And we'll bring the head back in line with the spine, nice tall spine. And pause for a moment, a little bit of a reset. Notice sensations. And then other ear to other shoulder. So left ear to left shoulder. Maybe using the right arm to accentuate or extend the stretch a little bit if that feels good. And then option to play with turning the head. You might, on an exhale, turn the nose down towards the left shoulder. And then inhale the nose up towards the ceiling. Exhaling down. And inhaling up. Moving with your breath, and only if it feels good. Deciding where you want to be. One more round as long as you feel okay moving in this way. We'll bring the nose forward again. Bring the head back in line with the spine. And pause. If there are any other intuitive movements that you'd like to do with your head and neck, when making those movements, it might feel good to roll the chin along the chest from ear to ear. Or even the other way, moving backwards from ear to ear, that would feel good. It might feel good to roll the shoulders a little bit. And then settling back into your tall seat. Give yourself the space to notice sensation. Moving down into the shoulders next. Let's roll the shoulders whichever way feels most natural. And then rolling shoulders the other way. Releasing the shoulders down. Let's find a few scrunching of the shoulders with breath. So inhaling the shoulders up towards the ears. Releasing down when you're ready. You might sigh out. Twice more. Inhaling up. And exhaling to release. Inhaling up. Exhaling to release. And pausing. Oh, excuse me. Softened a yawn out of my body. Moving into the shoulders a little bit. Let's stretch the arms out so that the elbows are actually bent, palms facing the floor. And we'll move through internal and external rotation here. We'll inhale the arms up towards the ceiling. And then exhale to bring the fingertips down towards the floor. As much as we can, keeping elbows in line with the shoulders. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. One more time, inhaling up. And exhaling down. And releasing the fingertips back to a neutral position and releasing the arms down, giving yourself a moment to pause, notice sensations. Moving into the wrists a little bit. Let's find some wrist circles. You can either make a fist or keep the palms open and the fingers loose. I recommend trying both. Just notice the difference. Decide which one you'd like to play with today. And then let's switch directions. Shaking out the hands when you're ready. Moving into a little bit of finger work. Let's bring the tips of all of the fingers to the tip of the thumb. So they're just kind of surrounding the tip of the thumb a little bit. You can add a little bit of pressure if that feels okay. Just making that nice round shape with all of the fingers if that works. Or having that intention. And then shaking out the fingers when you're ready. Then we'll do one finger at a time and let's reach for the base of the thumb. So let's reach the first tips of the first fingers to the base of the thumb. And then release. We'll reach tip of the middle finger to the base of the thumb. Release. Ring finger to base of thumb. Release. Pinky finger to base of the thumb. Release. Switching so that we're reaching the thumb this time. Let's reach across the hand first. So base or tip of the thumb towards base of the pinky finger. Release. Tip of thumb to base of the ring finger. Release. Base or tip of the thumb to base of the middle finger. It's feeling more and more awkward for me. Release. Tip of the thumb to base of the first finger. And if you need to help your thumb along, you can use one hand at a time. Kind of imagine that the thumb could do it on its own. Play with that reach. And then shake out the fingers, let them all go. Let's do a few rounds of moving quickly between a fist and stretched fingers. Just as quick as you can. And let's play with the arms a little bit, reaching the arms out to the sides. And then down by your hips or down by the chair. Let's reach back behind us. And then forward, about shoulder height. Palms facing down. And then palms facing up. Then out to the side, palms facing up. If it feels okay for shoulders, lifting over your head. Just a couple more seconds, keep breathing. Bring them back down to shoulder height. And release, shake out the hands, rub the forearms, whatever feels like you need to do. Full body shake if you like. All right, pause for a moment, come back to your tall seat, reset. Soften the hands in your lap if that feels good. Moving back into shoulder blades. So let's come into Arms wide or arms bent again, about shoulder height, elbows bent, fingertips facing forward. With an inhale, let's draw the shoulder blades together, pulling the elbows back, and then exhale to release. So we'll move dynamically about 3 times. Inhaling to draw shoulder blades back. Exhaling to release. One more time with movement. Exhaling to release. And then this time, let's draw the shoulder blades back and hold for 3 breaths, just breathing, but drawing shoulder blades back. One more breath cycle as long as you feel okay here. And then releasing the arms forward, letting the hands come down to your lap again, soften your shoulders. Taking a couple of in-between breaths. And we'll find that holding variation one more time. Setting your way up, elbows bent, fingertips facing forward. Inhale to draw shoulder blades back, breathe. Hold the shoulder blades back, or imagine you were squeezing a pencil behind you. Keep breathing. Last full breath cycle here. And then releasing the arms forward, releasing the arms down to your lap, hands down to your lap. Continuing our movement down the spine. Let's move into our side bend next. For today's side bend, let's bring hands to the waist. We'll do a couple of variations. So let's start off hands on the waist. Imagine that you are using your hands. They can be even lower a little bit than the waist, sort of around the rim of your pelvis. Imagine that your hands were anchoring your pelvis in place. Keep the pelvis stable, keep the legs stable. Inhale, stretch the spine away from the pelvis. As you exhale, tip just the upper torso over to one side. And then inhale back up. Exhale over to the other side, still keeping the pelvis in place. Reaching, stretching away, and then inhaling back up. Either repeating that variation. Hands can stay on the pelvis, imagining that it can stay very stable, very still. Next option would be to cross the hands across the chest, as though you were giving yourself a hug, just noticing which hand comes underneath. Again, finding that nice tall inhale, stretching the spine upward. Keep the sit bones heavy this time, and as you exhale over to one side, stretch into the waist or the ribs. Inhale back up. Exhale over to the other side. Stretch away from the pelvis. Inhaling back up. And then releasing the arms down. And then cross the opposite way. So whichever arm was sort of to the inside or underneath first, we'll switch other direction. Inhale, tall spine. Exhale, side bend. Tipping to one side. Sit bones heavy. Inhaling back up. And exhaling the other way. Inhaling back up. And releasing the arms. Setting up for our twist next. Let's move dynamically with our twist. We'll make it a little bit flowy. Let's bring the hands in front of us, kind of as though you were holding a big ball in front of you. Or the fingertips can come, they don't necessarily need to touch, but they can sort of be drawn together. We'll move with breath. One arm at a time, we'll sweep back. So let's inhale here. As you exhale, sweep right arm to the right and twist to the right. Inhaling forward again as you're ready. Then we'll exhale to the left. Left arm sweeps back. And inhaling forward. Moving with your breath. Exhaling. And inhaling. Exhaling to twist. And inhaling back. A couple more times. Last round. Releasing your hands when you're ready, once you come back to center. Pausing for a moment, notice sensations in the body. And then from here, we'll move into arching and rounding the spine, our cat-cow. Bringing hands towards your knees or thighs. Just set up your tall spine again, reconnect, sit bones to the chair, feet to the floor, crown of the head lifting, shoulders soft. Notice the forehead and jaw, soften if you need to. Breathe. When your next exhale arrives, draw the belly towards the spine or towards the back of the chair, rounding the spine, Halloween cat, shoulder blades draw apart. With your inhale, draw chest and belly forward, pull the shoulder blades together and gaze lifts. Moving with your breath, exhaling to round, Halloween cat shape. Inhaling to arch. When you've had enough, you feel about even, slowly make your way back to that tall seat. No rush to come back. Give yourself a moment to notice sensations in the body again. Moving into our little bit of core work. We'll set up the same way. Hands come towards the knees, but this time, if it feels okay, stretch the hands as far as they can so arms are straight. Inhale here, nice tall spine. As you exhale, push hands into the knees and draw the knees up into the hands. Activating all around the core, so not just the belly, but around the waist, maybe even into the low back and mid back maybe. Keep breathing. You might find you're breathing more into the chest or the ribs rather than down into the belly. One more full breath cycle. And then release the hands, release the knees. Let's widen the legs slightly. Lean forward, support yourself on your forearms. Breathe into the belly, breathe into the waist, breathe into the mid and low back. Just soften those muscles that we're working so hard. We'll find that work twice more. Come on, back up to seating. Set up your tall seat again. Feet about hip width distance apart. Stretch the hands towards knees. Inhale. Exhale, push hands to knees, draw knees to hands. Keep breathing. 2 more breaths. 1 more. And releasing the knees, releasing the hands, finding that fold, that forward fold again. The feet can be a little wider. Support yourself on your thighs. Deep breath. Expand the torso in all 360 degrees around. Coming back up to your tall seat as you're ready. Setting yourself up again. Last one. Hands to knees, tall spine, inhale. Exhale, push hands to knees, draw knees to hands, breathe. 1 more breath cycle. And then release. Last fold for this series or set of movements. Take a few deep breaths here. Softening the belly, softening the sides of your waist, softening the low and mid back. And let's make our way back up to the tall seat. Shift forward on your sit bones so that you're closer to the edge of the chair. So that you're still stable. You don't want to be falling off the edge. And give yourself enough space behind you so that you have a little room to lean back. And we'll come into another little bit of core work since we've warmed up. I'll turn my chair sideways just so that you have a better idea of what I'm doing, but you can stay exactly as you are. So giving yourself some space between you and the backrest of the chair. Sit bones on the edge of the chair, but stable, far enough back that you're stable. From your tall seat, we'll reach behind and hold the seat of the chair as far back as feels okay, wherever your hands can. Draw the shoulder blades back a little bit, so we're broadening the chest. And then let the feet start to get a little bit lighter. You might come up onto the tiptoes. Maybe this is where you want to stay. It might be fun to play with lifting one leg at a time. Switching when you're ready. Switching again. Switching again. And releasing toes back down, or feet back down to the ground. Come back. Notice how the body feels. And then either we can repeat that variation or find another variation. So again, hands can come behind you, seat of the chair, holding the seat of the chair. Lean back, broad chest. You can come up onto your toes and move one leg at a time, or you could play with lifting both knees up. If that's crazy, that's okay. It's just an idea. And then if it feels fairly easy, and you need to have room to lean back to sort of counterbalance. If lifting the knees feels relatively easy, then you could play with lightening the support of the hand on the chair. If that's crazy, it's okay. This is not a necessary one. When you're ready, release the feet back to the floor if they're lifted. And again, we might find that forward fold. Soften the belly, soften the waist and low back. Last one, the version of your choice. Come back up to your tall seat. Give yourself the space to lean back if you want to try the balancing version. And set yourself up. So hands might come to the seat again. Toes might stay on the floor, or one might lift, or both might lift. And then if you can find that balance point, you might release your hands, even briefly. Keep breathing. And then releasing feet back to the floor if they were lifted. Widening the feet, finding forward fold again. Soften the belly, soften the low back. And then making your way back up, and we'll move on to the legs. I'll turn forward again. Moving into the legs, we'll start off in our tall seat. Let's start off with feet facing forward, sort of hip width distance apart again. Just reset, nice tall spine. Sit bones firmly on the chair, shoulders soft. Let's bring right knee up first. So either toes can stay on the floor, letting the foot be a bit light so that you can draw circles with your toes, or we can draw the leg up, lifting the foot, holding underneath the thigh or around the shin, or not using hands, or using a tea towel or strap underneath the thigh can also work. And then let's draw circles with the knee, moving into the hip socket, letting the circles be as big as feels okay this morning, or in this moment. And then let's switch directions, circles the other way. Bringing the knee forward, we'll keep the foot lifted. So if it doesn't feel good to keep the foot lifted with your hands, you can also cross one thigh over the other to keep the foot lifted while having some support there. You can also hold around the shin or use that strap T-tail under your thigh. Let's find some ankle circles, right side. Switching directions when you're ready. Pointing and flexing the foot a few times. And then stretching the toes apart and curling the toes in together. Stretching apart and curling. Stretching apart and curling. Release the foot to the floor for a moment. Notice sensations in the right leg. And then let's play with spacing the toes apart using the fingers. So, bringing the right foot up again. It might feel good to rest some part of your leg on the left thigh. And then we're threading the left fingers through the right toes, if that feels okay. So it might just be a couple of toes that fit fingers, or maybe just at the very beginning of the finger, the top of the finger. If you can thread all the way through to the knuckle, that's okay, as long as you're not causing any pain, right? We don't want to go too intense. And then you can wiggle the toes forward and back with using your fingers if that feels okay. A little bit of a massage between the toes with the upper foot. And then we'll release the toes, let the right foot come back down to the floor. Pause again, just notice sensations, notice differences from one leg to the other. And then we'll move over to the left side, drawing left knee up. Again, toes can stay on the floor. You can draw circles with the toes, or lifting the leg, holding under the thigh or around the shin, or not at all, or using a strap or tea towel under the thigh. And we'll find some circles, left side into the left hip. And then switching directions, circles the other way. And bringing the knee forward, we'll keep the foot lifted as long as that feels okay, or you can support the left leg on the right leg. Find some ankle circles left side. Switching directions. Pointing and flexing a couple of times. And then playing with the toes, stretching the toes apart. And curling the toes in together. Stretching. And curling. Stretching. And curling. Releasing the foot to the floor for a moment. Pause. Notice sensations. And then we'll move towards that threading of fingers through the foot. So you might support the left leg on the right leg. Using your right hand this time to thread your fingers through or between your toes. And it might just be sort of your fingertips, or you can thread the fingers through. It'll depend how much space your toes have. Not looking to cause any pain, but just a little bit of stretching between the toes. And then you might wiggle the toes forward and back. A little bit of massage for the upper foot. And then when you're ready, releasing the fingers from the toes, releasing the foot back to the floor. And giving yourself that pause, that moment to notice sensations. Moving into our sun salutations next. So setting yourself up, nice tall spine. Feet can either be narrow or legs can be sort of narrow or hip width distance if you like the compression, which is said to aid digestion, kind of finding compression of the digestive organs in there. If it doesn't feel so good, widen your legs, give yourself the space for the torso to come through. So choosing your leg variation, little push of the feet into the floor. And when you're ready, we'll inhale the arms up as high as feels okay. Exhaling the hands back down to your sides or to your thighs. With an inhale, let's arch the back, cow pose. Exhaling to round, Halloween cat. Inhaling back to a tall neutral spine. And exhaling to fold forward. With an inhale, let's sweep the right arm up into a twist. And exhale, right arm down. Inhaling the left arm up into a twist. And exhaling down. Coming all the way back up. Inhale, arms sweep up as high as feels okay for shoulders. Then release, hands down to your thighs. Pausing, breathing. Different arm variation for our second one. Let's bring hands in prayer. With an inhale, we'll sweep the arms up through center. Exhaling to bring the hands back down. With an inhale, arching the back, cow pose. Exhaling to round, Halloween cat. Inhaling back to neutral. Exhaling to fold. Inhaling the right arm up into a twist. Exhaling back down. Inhaling the left arm up into a twist. Exhaling down. Inhaling all the way back up, hands in prayer all the way through center up. And exhaling to release the hands back down to your lap. Pausing, breathing. Last variation. With an inhale, let's bring the hands into a cactus shape. Exhaling the hands back down again. Inhaling, arch the spine, chest and belly forward, gaze lifts. Exhale to round, Halloween cat. Inhale back to neutral, tall spine. And exhale to fold. Inhaling the right arm up into a twist. And exhaling down. Inhaling the left arm up into a twist. And exhaling down. Coming all the way back up to a tall seat, arms come into cactus shape. And exhaling to release. Pause for a full breath cycle, noticing sensations in the body. And then we'll come back up to standing. We stayed seated a little longer than usual, playing with our fingers and toes. So let's come up to seated right into chair pose, just to add a little bit of intensity to our standing that will be relatively brief. So when you're ready, bring your heels in towards the chair. Hands can come to prayer or to your waist, and we'll come partially up. So come up to standing, but don't straighten your legs all the way. Hover over the chair as low as you can. Breathe. And this is as long as it feels okay for knees. Imagine heart high and sit bones low. Keep breathing. One more breath, maybe. And come all the way up to standing when you're ready. You might wiggle out the legs a little bit. Let's use the back rest, of the chair. We'll come into a balance right away. Since we've stretched out our toes so nicely. So you can bring your feet as close together as they can, but imagine that you could widen your toes on the floor, almost like you can give yourself a wider base. Let's stand on the left foot. Right foot will start to get light. So toes can stay on the floor or the foot can lift. Let's bring the knee towards your torso, up as high as you can. Breathing here. And then maybe you start to play with letting the supportive hand get a little bit lighter. Maybe not. And maybe we bring the right knee out to the right, keeping the hips facing forward as much as possible. Keep breathing. And we'll bring the knee forward again. Stretch out and lift the leg as high as you can. And then release it down. You might shake out the standing foot. You might wiggle out the hips a little bit. And we'll switch sides. Bearing your feet. Stable base. Standing on the right foot this time. The left foot will start to get light. So bringing the knee up any amount. So toe can stay on the floor or bringing the knee up, up, up as high as you can towards your torso. Breathing here. You might play with the balance here. You might let the supportive hand get a little lighter. You might bring left knee out to the left, keeping the hips facing forward. Keep breathing. And we'll bring the knee forward again. Stretch the leg out, lift as high as you can before releasing down. Shake up the standing leg, shake up the hips. Ooh. We kind of close off our very short standing sequence today. Let's find a downward dog. So this can be your choice depending on the level or the height that you prefer. You can use the backrest of the chair or the seat of the chair if you have a variation that you prefer. Backrest of the chair, hands can rest on the backrest, walking feet back. Feet can be a little wider than hip width distance if that would feel good, and knees can be bent. Reaching tailbone back, crown of the head forward. Breathing here. If it feels better to have hands on the seat of the chair, then it's the same idea. Hands on the seat, walking feet back. Knees bent, tailbone in one direction, crown of the head in the other. You can always play with straightening your legs if you wish, but often bent knees gives more space in the spine. A little more length. Then when you're ready to come out, look towards the chair and slowly walk the feet forward. Coming all the way to standing as you're ready. If there's any other movement you'd like to make before we move back to the chair for closing, then making any movements that would feel good. Might be another stretch or wide legs or standing side bend. More time in downward dog, whatever it is. Give yourself that time. And then eventually make your way back to your chair. Or to the floor if that's something. If you want a more traditional shavasana, you can lie down flat out on a couch or on the ground if you're able to get back up again and you know that that's not a problem. If you're making your way back to the chair, and then you might allow yourself to rest back against the backrest, or you could keep that tall seat, whichever feels most natural for you in this moment. Pausing, just coming back to awareness of your breath for a few breaths. And then to close practice, your hands can rest where they are if they feel good then. Or they might come over your heart or into a prayer position. Sending gratitude to yourself first for making the time to move and breathe and for honoring your body and your breath. With gratitude for allowing me to guide you through practice today. And with much gratitude to all the students and teachers who have come before us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Thank you. Recording here.